As a science communicator, are there any topics you've tried to explain but struggled to effectively communicate what you intend? First of all, yes, many. It is always... Well, I'll continue your question, then I'll speak to it. One of my passions is coffee, and I got a new grinder that with each change on the grind is a change of 16 microns. I struggle a bit to explain this to a friend, as I couldn't find a comparative example until I hit on the average thickness of a human hair, and that it would take 3 step changes to roughly equate the thickness of a hair. Is this a similar problem you've encountered? Yeah, all the time. I actually think that science communication, this is a phrase in my head that's like one of those theorems that's never been proven, that everyone sort of agrees is probably true, but you can't find the proof for it. This is what's going on in my head. I feel like all science communication is communicating scale, or is using scale to communicate drama, to create drama. Using scale to create drama. So when you are trying to, hold on, this thing is jiggling and it's making me nuts. There we go. Okay. I can't talk right now. Hold on. Message. Custom. Oh, no, I can't do it. Can't do it. Anyway. That was one of my kids. That's why I was paying attention to the phone ringing. You are attempting to take something they know, the thickness of a hair, and communicating 3-step changes. The difficulty, it's hard to ask people to do math in their heads to understand something. People resist that. I've encountered this a lot. And when I talk about fine and finer and finest increments here in the shop, in the cave, when I'm making stuff and I'm making it to a tolerance of less than 1,000th of an inch, I spend a lot of time thinking about how to dramatize that measurement. So you wanted to dramatize 16 microns and make it palatable or understandable. And a rolling paper is actually a great way to get pretty close to that. So among machinists, a rolling paper is our favorite way of, and it's our favorite analog way of registering our machines. So when you are moving your X or Y of a milling machine, you have total access to the DRO, the digital readout, and it's absolutely tracked the whole time. But on the quill feed, you can disconnect from the quill feed's digital readout, and it's basically, the Z-axis is often very hard to calibrate in machining. The Z-axis is a pain in the ass, and there are a few ways to do it, and they are slightly imperfect, but one of the most reliable is to use a rolling paper. And the way you do it is you put the rolling paper down on the material, and you slowly bring the quill down, and the moment it grabs and tosses that paper, you now know that the end of the milling bit is precisely 1,000th of an inch away from the work, because a rolling paper is reliably exactly 1 thou thick, 1,000th of an inch. So how does that communicate to microns? Well, because micron is metric and 1,000th of an inch is imperial, the translation is the same as centimeters to inches, 25.4. So this is 1,000th of an inch, or 25.4 microns. So it's about 2/3 the thickness of a rolling paper. I know, I'm still asking you to do a fraction in your head. It's the closest I can come. Dude, science communication on that front takes work. It takes specificity of language. I have found certain wordings land with audiences better than others, and I'm always workshopping this kind of thing. I'll tell you, it's funny, back in 2011, 2012, Jamie and I got approached to host a show for Discovery, and they were like, we were already hosting Mythbusters, but there was this show that had been franchised out of Australia, and it had done really well there, and they wanted to basically repackage that show with Jamie and I hosting it. And they sent me they sent us this outline of one of the segments, and it was about jackknifing tractor trailers. And so that's an 18-wheeler. And an 18-wheeler jackknifes when its trailer turns around on the cab there. And the way they had written it out was, I'm not going to get all the details right because I could not find the original document that they sent me. But it was sort of like this. They had written, a tractor trailer can jackknife under specific conditions involving braking if the angle exceeds 22 degrees. And it was like, if what angle exceeds 22 degrees? I'm always asking this question of the television or of YouTube videos that I'm watching when people name figures. Actually, just yesterday, someone was like, yes, it will cost over 80 times less. And I'm like, I'm not sure I can tell you what I even think 80 times less actually is. 80 times more is just like n times 80. But 80 times less? Is it n divided by 80? I'm not sure. So they wrote this thing that said a trailer jackknifes after 22 degrees. And I was like, there's no information in that sentence. So immediately while sitting there and looking at this, I went and Googled. And what I think I remember I found, and the number 22 might be wrong, but what I remember from researching for 3 minutes was, in braking, if the angle between the trailer and the cab exceeds a specific angle, then that braking problem is unrecoverable, that there is an angle past which you can't rescue the problem. And so I was like, oh, that makes sense to me. And I ended up writing it out, spent another 5 minutes writing it out a little clearer, and sent it off to them and said, look, the sample you sent was a little bit wonky, but here's some new language. Jamie and I, we think we might be interested. And they were like, oh, there's no rewriting here. The script is locked and you need to read it exactly because it's already been timed. And we were like, oh, then we are totally disinterested in saying your bad science writing with our voices. Yeah. The fact is I try stuff out all the time. I try it out on friends when I'm talking about stuff. I love finding a rhetorical phrase for a complicated concept that lands. And in order to find those, I workshop them all the time, both internally and socially, and also when I do talks. And I know what, I pay attention to what reactions I get for the things that I'm saying. Yeah, that kind of stuff, it's not trivial. But microns are not quite as tiny as we think they are. Again, 25.4 fits in 1,000th of an inch, and that sounds like a very small increment, but I'm regularly able to get accuracy in here that is within like 3-4 microns, a couple of 10,000ths of an inch.
Thank you for watching that video. Are you as sick of the tosses to membership as I am? Good, because here's a brand new one that I recorded today, and it's nice and short. There are 3 tiers to Tested membership, and they all offer awesome stuff. Find out about it by clicking the join link below. We'll see you there.